Is your battery light on after ignition cycle? You could have a battery or alternator issue. Get a multimeter, flick it to voltage, red to positive, black to negative, and check the charging rate while the vehicle is running. If it's below 13 volts or above 14.7 volts, you're most likely to have an alternator failing or overcharging. Go to my channel to see the full video of me replacing my Pajero alternator. Welcome to Mechanic Technical. Today we're replacing a Pajero alternator. Alternator is located at the front of the engine, hiding somewhere around near the belts. Disconnect that battery negative to disable your battery power. Take off the intake scoop with two 10mm bolts, and then unclip from the other side. And then undo the intake to the turbo, two more 10mm bolts. Got to use a long extension on that bottom one, and it's a good time to check out the condition of your turbo. Check your blades. Undo that adjuster lock on your alternator, then loosen off the tensioner adjuster bolt. If you didn't remove the battery, you're about to find out why you should have. Once you get that positive terminal off, then remove the alternator lock bolt fully because it's locking it to the tensioner assembly. Then go underneath and remove the voltage regulator connector. It can be a bit tight because it's been on there for a long time. Then take off the pivot bolt nut and you'll get the bolt out from the other side. It'll be very tight because that's what's locking the alternator stiff. It can be tight access in there, so hang in there, be patient. Now there should be nothing holding your alternator in. Pry it a little bit to get those belts loose. Take your belts off. You don't have to take them off all the way, but this is a good time to replace them if you haven't done so already. Then take that pivot bolt out from the front. If you've already learned something or you like the content, please like and subscribe. I'm a one-man show, recording with one hand and working with the other. Grab yourself a pry bar because sometimes they can be tight in there. You got to work it back and forth a bit to kind of get it out. This one was a bit stuck in there. I tried to do it without taking too much off, but now I've got to take the fan out, so I'll show you how to do that. Use that pry bar to react on one of the nuts so that you can actually crack these suckers loose without the whole fan turning. With the fan off, it was pretty easy to get the alternator out. Pause the video now if you want that genuine part number. I always make sure that my parts are going to fit so I'm not messing around and struggling later, so make sure everything is going to line up, make sure everything's the same size, all the mounting points and everything. The new one was a bit lighter than the old one, but that's okay. Once you get that alternator back in, put that pivot bolt back through. Once you got that tension assembly back together, make sure you refit your belts, make sure everything's in their grooves. Fit it back to the alternator again, and don't fully tighten any of the alternator bolts just yet. You still need them to pivot and move. As I tighten the adjuster bolt, I always check the tension on the belts because you can go too tight. With your belt tension set, you can now tighten the adjuster lock bolt. If you use power tools like me, then you should always double check with a normal ratchet afterwards for your correct tension. You don't want to snap any bolts. Refit the positive alternator terminal and the nut and tighten it up. After all that, you can go back underneath and lock up that pivot bolt and nut. Most alternators have a locating dowel that seats itself back into the mounting housing right there. Then refit your voltage regulator connector. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm just going to refit shit until the end.